Welcome to Taste Buds. I'm Debra Eckerling, goal strategist, writer, and foodie. And today I'm speaking with actor, writer, humorist Annie Korzen, who's the author of the book of Annie, Humor, Heart, and Chutzpah from an Accidental Influencer. Welcome, Annie. It's so good to talk to you today.
I'm thrilled to be here. How are you?
I'm good. I get to talk about food, humor, heart, chutzpah. I mean, what could be bad?
All those
Nothing.
important issues.
Now, before we start talking about food, I have to ask, how does one become an accidental influencer?
Well, it was quite miraculously. Actually, how one becomes anything, I've discovered, is by anything that's over to you, you say, yeah, why not? So I've done storytelling, I've done solo shows, and I was talking to a young 30-year-old friend of mine, and I was saying, I'd like to find a larger audience. Maybe I should put some little videos up on Instagram. And she said, no, Instagram is so toxic. You belong on TikTok. And I thought, me on TikTok, what a ridiculous idea. No one wants to see this little old Jewish lady on TikTok. And she said, trust me, you will go viral. And I said, okay, why not? And we did it, and she was right. And I have over 400,000 followers, much to my great amazement.
Wow. And
So
so,
I just took a chance.
well, yes, and is a very, popular phrase to use in life, right? Isn't that the improver's motto?
Is saying what?
Yes, and?
Oh, yes, and is what you do in improv. Exactly. And mine is slightly different. Mine is, yeah, why not? Because I've discovered you never know what the consequences are of any action you take. The only thing you do know is if you don't take any action, the consequences are zero, right?
Absolutely. So, what sorts of things do you post on TikTok that people love oh so much?
I really talk about how I see the world, whether it's about relationships, marriage, motherhood, food. I'm not a cook, but I am a foodie of sorts. Thrifting, which I've been doing all my life, but I didn't know that it was such a wildly passionate topic right now in the culture. Uh, and I just talk about how I see the world, hopefully in a humorous way. And the greatest remark I got from a follower was, I do not understand how I relate so closely with a Jewish woman from New York who is in her 80s. I am an Afghan boy of 16.
Wow.
And that thrilled me. That just thrilled me.
That's absolutely amazing. It's so like food, TikTok brings people from different cultures together.
It can. It can. And what I've discovered is I've always thought that as a performer, as a storyteller, I thought, okay, my audience, my target audience is people like me, urban, Jewish, I would say intellectual or educated women, uh, over 50. That's my audience. It's just, I've discovered I was all wrong about that. My audience are young people of all colors and all religions. And I don't understand it. When I asked Mackenzie, my 30-year-old producer, to explain it, she says because young people are looking for someone who's honest or authentic and has some wisdom to share. So that's been a great, miraculous journey for me.
Wow, wonderful. Well, congratulations for that.
Thank you.
Um, can we talk about your food obsession now? I mean, I feel like, being Jewish and food go well, it is Taste Buds with Deb on the Jewish Journal Podcast Network, so that kind of goes without saying, but I say it
Right.
anyway. What is it that you love personally about food?
Well, the thing is, I am kind of obsessed with it. I think about when I go to sleep at night, I think about what we're going to have for dinner the next day. When I'm having breakfast, I plan the next meal. When I'm in a restaurant, I think about what's the next thing I'm going to order when I come to that restaurant again. I'm always thinking about food and planning it in advance. I, however, am not a great cook. Uh, and around 10 years ago, maybe, I retired from the kitchen. And I asked my husband to take over because I felt it was too time consuming. On the other hand, there are things that people like me who don't want to spend a lot of time in the kitchen can just still do to put together something that's fun and good. So one of my things is salsa for everything. Here's my recipe for a perfect meatloaf: a pound of turkey, a container of salsa, and that's it. And you'll have the best, tastiest meatloaf ever.
Interesting. So you
Okay.
just, like, mix it you mix the salsa
I
in with the meat, and then you
Well, if
drop
you
it in the
think
oven?
about think about what's in salsa, right? It's tomato, chilies, garlic, onion, what's the spice I'm trying to think of? The spice that a lot of people don't like, not
Oh,
coriander,
cilantro?
cilantro, right. Oh, you have all those flavors. And you mix it with a pound of turkey. No egg, no flour, none of that heavy stuff. It's not needed. So you
Okay.
could do it with turkey. We use turkey because I don't like to use a lot of red meat, but you could do it with ground meat too. I try to think of another thing I do with salsa. Um, if I were gonna do well, okay, how about this? For gazpacho, do you like gazpacho?
Of course, who doesn't?
Who doesn't, right? And on a hot day, it's so refreshing. So here's my recipe. Here's my no cooking recipe for gazpacho. You take last night's leftover salad and you put it in the blender with a container of salsa, and you've got perfect gazpacho. Think
Wow, I
about
thought,
it. What's in the salad? Lettuce, cucumber, tomato, right? All the kinds of veggies that you put in when you're making gazpacho for real. And you just whip it up, and you've got a great, cold, nourishing, and healthy and vegetarian soup.
I feel like you've missed your calling, and your next book should be 50 Uses for Salsa with
Yeah, I
Annie.
know. No, I was thinking that my next book would be recipe 2 ingredient recipes, recipes but now I have a 1 ingredient recipe, but this one has been going around the internet a lot lately. Maybe you've heard about it. I just tried it. You take a banana, a very ripe banana, you cut it up, you put it in the freezer, you take it out, put it in the blender, and I discovered I do cheat. It's not just one ingredient. I add a little milk. You have perfect banana ice cream. No sugar, nothing bad. It's just a banana and a little milk. Perfect banana ice cream.
Ooh, so the
Yeah.
banana cookbook comes next. Well,
Right.
you
And what Oh, I've discovered a new one recently, a new easy one. I buy those little taco shells in the supermarket, the small ones. And I put in, again, salsa, grated some kind of American or orange kind of cheese, a piece of sliced turkey. Oh, and my secret, but the best ingredient for that is, and I add some sauteed onions. I fold it over, I stick it in the oven, and 5 minutes later, I have the most delicious, I guess I'd call it a quesadilla ever. And simple, simple, simple.
ooh, I like that. You're not an air fryer person, are you?
I have the world's tiniest and worst kitchen. Well, that's one of the reasons that I don't have a passion for cooking. I don't really have the environment for it. So I don't have room. I'd love to have an air fryer. I simply don't have the room for it. I do have what do they call it? A slow cooker. And I do use that occasionally because I love the idea, like to make a soup and just to throw in a lot of stuff, and 5 hours later you have a whole meal in there without having had without using a lot of pots and pans.
Yeah, I do the same thing, but I use an Instant Pot, and then you get your soup in, like, an hour.
I've heard about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't have a lot of room for. Oh, and I've been thinking, I haven't made it yet, but that whole quesadilla idea of throwing things into this little wrapper and folding it, I haven't done it yet, but I'm thinking, does this sound crazy? I'm gonna put in some Nutella in a taco, and heat it in the oven so that the taco shell gets kind of crispy, and you have the melted chocolate inside. How bad could that be? What do you think?
I think it sounds good. Well, and this is why I asked if you had an air fryer because I do that all the time. Is I wrap up leftovers
Do?
in a tortilla and I put it in the air fryer.
Oh, really?
And I do it with peaches as well. I like to do peaches and then
Oh,
put maybe a
yum.
little cinnamon and wrap it up.
Oh,
Maybe it's a
yum.
little leaky, but oh my
Who
goodness, so
cares?
good. Yeah, exactly. Who cares?
That
Right?
sounds great. But I have to say, I gotta say, and I talk a lot about this in my book, I do love eating out. I do love restaurants. And when I travel, I don't understand these people who travel to a place like France or Italy and only want to go to five-star restaurants. I don't get that. I don't. I'm in Italy. I want to go to a place where someone's grandma is in the kitchen and making the recipes that she learned from her grandma. And I've experienced this many times, and it's always been a magical experience. Not just for the food, but for the relationship that you form with the family that owns the restaurant.
Right. Well, it goes back to that community aspect.
Mhm. Mhm.
You want those and I interviewed Lisa Niver, another LA person. She's a travel writer, and she said when she travels she likes to take cooking classes in other
Oh,
countries.
that's interesting.
And
That is
yes,
interesting.
you think about you would take a cooking class maybe in France or Italy, but why wouldn't you take it in any small town anywhere in the world?
Right. Right. Well, I think that food is a great way to travel. I always say I do love to travel. I hate traveling. I hate flying and I hate all of that. Cars, boats, trains, whatever. I hate it all, but I like being in new places. And when I'm in a new place, I would say food is probably the top of my list of what I want to experience there, you know. But
Mhm.
also, since as I say, I'm also a thrifter, I don't want to spend my money in a place, I don't want someone giving me sauteed rat intestines or, what's the thing they do? The air blown, these I forget a system of cooking that you only get in very, very fancy restaurants. You get to know the culture and the people by eating where the people eat.
So, when you go to places that do not require you using one ingredient to cook, what are some of your favorite foods?
I guess I would have to say that Italian and Asian are the two big categories for me. But my husband is Danish. He's a Danish Jew, which is uh, a curious combination. And so we have to have his kind of food in the house, which means that in my house, I always have herrings. And by the way, I buy this food at those Russian delis on Santa Monica. Have you experienced that? Have you been to any of the Russian markets in West Hollywood?
I have not, but
It's
it
a
sounds
very
very
interesting
interesting.
it's a very interesting thing. So they will have chopped herring there the way my mother used to make it. They will have stuffed cabbage. They will have this kind of very earthy Jewish, Scandinavian, and also Eastern European food that and interesting breads. We have my house. I always have at least 3 loaves of bread. We're big bread eaters because Danes are big bread. The basic Danish food is an open faced sandwich. Are you aware of that? It's what Americans call smorgasbord, which is not the right word for it. The cold table. The Scandinavian cold table is a collection of different open-faced sandwiches uh, that are made just not just for taste, but for looks. So the colors, the appearances, the way they're designed is part of the experience. So that's something we have in our house a lot.
Oh, so it's almost like fancy. You put out the bread and then you put the different types of interesting food on it.
Yeah, let's say you would put what they call gravidlocks, which is a special kind of Scandinavian, not salty uh, lox. It's not actually smoked. It's treated in a different way. That has dill on it. And then you would add a sweet and sour dill mustard sauce. And then you might add a little tomato, a little cucumber, some more fresh dill, maybe a little less, some, to, to, to have the red and green and colors, and that you might have on black bread, or you would have it on a Scandinavian type crusty white bread.
Ooh, that sounds good. So it's really
Of course,
mixing.
you have to drink with that. You have to drink aquavit and beer with that if you're doing the real thing, which is pretty heavy
Well, the food
alcohol and
itself doesn't sound very light.
no, no, this is not a light. No, it's not light. But about the other thing, the Asian, the Italian, I've really discovered more and more I'm liking Vietnamese cuisine. And again, it's very simple, it's very fresh, it's very affordable, right? If you go to any
Mhm.
of these pho restaurants, uh, and there's something just wonderful and homey and healing about that food.
Well, I think you just hit on something else. That food is it's good for communication, but it is healing. The healthier the food, the better you feel when you eat it too, right?
Yes, and sometimes I have a craving for something not so healthy. I remember once I was in a deep depression and all I wanted was something I would never eat ordinarily. All I wanted was, what's it called? Colonel,
Oh, kettle corn? No.
no, Colonel, what is it? The fried chicken. Is it Colonel Sanders?
Oh, yeah, Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Kentucky Fried Chicken. That's when I was in a deep depression. What's what I craved. Kentucky Fried Chicken, extra crispy, with coleslaw and mashed potatoes with it. It was the only thing that I could, you know. Sometimes you medicate yourself, not necessarily with the healthiest things, but for some reason that's what your body craves at certain times.
So, how did you get out of it?
Oh gosh, you know how you get out of any depression? You experience it, and then you come back to life by getting active, by living life. Living life is a way to get out of any problem. Right now, I'm at an age where I'm experiencing a lot of loss and change, and I deal with that by reinventing things in my life, finding new friends, finding younger friends who are not going to leave me as quickly as the ones my own age. Um, I, I think you have to be proactive and again say, yeah, why not to anything that's suggested.
Which applies to activity and food, right? Because why not try different things? Do you have a favorite piece of advice, whether it's food wise or otherwise, from your book that you want to share?
Well, yes, this yeah, why not thing, and it's also to trust your own instincts and be who you are. For my life and my career, I've been told that I'm too Jewish looking, and as a woman that I'm too opinionated and I'm too outspoken. I've been told those three things all my life. And now I have a whole new audience who tells me that I'm beautiful, which I've never heard before, not in Hollywood, certainly, and that my opinions are meaningful and inspiring. So everything I've been criticized for in my entire life now is something that is bringing me to a whole new audience and a whole new kinds of success. You know, in Hollywood, if they were casting right now an attractive older woman, I would never be seen for it because I am not Hollywood's idea of what an attractive older woman is Helen Mirren or Holland Taylor. But now I'm hearing something else, and it's quite amazing to me at this point in my life to suddenly feel, how shall I say, uh, um, I feel that I have been not gratified. I, I have gotten respect for things that I did not respect myself about in the past. Does that make any sense?
Yes. It sounds to me like very empowering that you get to be
Totally,
you and
totally.
people love you.
Just
right?
be who you are is what I'm trying to that's what I'm trying to say. Do not treat you cannot please the world. You cannot please everyone in the world. If you can be your honest, authentic self without hurting anybody, then that's the only way to be.
I think that's such especially in this crazy day and age that we live in.
Mhm.
Really solid, important advice. Be yourself, don't hurt other people, and just enjoy.
And also, I think particularly for Jewish women, it's important because there's been so much traditional disrespect for Jewish. Oh, the yenta and the nagging wife and the Jewish mother and all the jokes made by Jewish comics. Sorry to say that we become an unfairly defined stereotype, and there is a lot of dignity and value in Jewish women, in being warm and nurturing and opinionated and curious about the world.
And who knew that you being on TikTok would give you that sense of
Never in a
empowerment
million
and
years.
self?
That's why I say an accidental influencer. I never pictured this. Never.
Well, you must be enjoying it.
I really am. What I enjoy most is getting stopped in the street by the young people. And
Oh,
they
do
look
you
all different kinds of ways. They're black, they're white, they're Latino, they're Midwest Christians. And they say, "Oh my God, you're the lady from TikTok. We love you. Can we get a picture?"
so what do you hope people get most from your book?
I would like to inspire people, number one, to be themselves, as I said, and number two, to be open to other kinds of people, to other cultures. I was brought up in the Bronx where the motto was stick with your own kind. And I'm very happy that I disregarded that. Because if you reach out to the other kind, there are all kinds of riches to be discovered in that we can't just keep in our own little
Yes,
world.
I think that's so well said. So I so appreciate your time. Thank you so much, Annie. Where can people learn more about you and your book and everything?
Oh gosh, I didn't even think of that. I do have a website. It's not up to date at Annie Korzen. They can see me on TikTok at A Korzen, but the book and then the is on Amazon and the audio book is on Audible. And I read it myself. I read so the book is on Amazon and the audio book is on audible.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing your love of food and your wisdom today. And thank you for tuning into Taste Buds with Deb. Don't miss an episode. Subscribe on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform or both. And go to jewishjournal.com/podcast to read the articles that go with each episode. And you can learn more at tastebudswithdeb.com. Go be yourself, enjoy your food. And until next time, bon appetit.